Hey, welcome back, everybody. So this might just be one of the most pointless videos I've done in a very long time, or it just might be something you're looking for. I'm not sure. This is hitting like an in-between spot. You know, it's not necessarily a tutorial. It got nothing to do with anatomy, and it's like technical blah blah blah. But I think some people might have an interest in this because I'm curious. I thought, what the hell, I'm going to hit record. We're going to pause during the boring parts while I'm like, fiddling with some stuff. Uh, because I want to encourage you guys to experiment as well. And to be fair, this sort of stuff, like making your own brushes and things, it's not glamorous. You know, if you're like me, I feel like I just really don't have time for that. I'd rather be looking online for the tools already done for me, or for the most part, just learn to become accustomed to the tools with the software. Okay, and like the title of the videos, I'm not quite sure what the title is going to be, but what I'm doing is I want to make some digital tools that replicate analog or real life kind of tools. You know, if you're coming from penciling on paper, I think a lot of people, this might be good for you if you're new to digital, right? And you're trying to make a quick switch. And it might just be, maybe this might be something you're kind of looking forward to so you can mesh some styles. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of Freddie Williams. He's got the great book, The DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics. And lately, I've been getting into the workflow of just, why not be able to just draw on paper? If you can somewhat match up the styles somewhat. I'm telling you from somebody that doesn't work as much as I should in comic books, or that I'd like, I should say, because of my day job and things. If you're able to one night want to draw on paper, it's nice to be able to do that if you want to get away from the computer, or the other way around, okay? So enough of that. So I'm just going to pop up here. I had a convention over the weekend, local here at the Syndicon in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. If you were there and you didn't say hello, that's okay. We can say hello now. So what I was trying to do was some tests, like if people wanted commissions, I wanted to be able to give them something and draw something. And it's been a little while since I've done some analog work, kind of, but I wanted to find something that I could do quick. So I did a couple samples here. This one's Spider-Man, the next one's going to be Batman, and I'll show you. So the basic workflow is, just doing penciled roughs all the way up to like a line art, which would be like a very, if you're used to the Freddy method, I like to call it, like a 3-pixel brush is what he likes to use. This is like a micron. This is or no, it's not a micron. You could use a micron, or I had like the Stedler something liner, doesn't matter, it's 0.05, it's very thin, and then you just do your line art, your lines I should say over there. Like you can see all the lines that I've got going on here, all over like Spidey's outfit and stuff. And the next stage was, and this is the part where I won't be getting into this, but this is cool for prints. I really dug the look. Where I have this, I have 2 shades of Copic gray, very light, and then like an even kind of darker, not too dark. And then you just go ahead and you do your passes, and then I grab like what do I always pronounce them wrong? Kurutaki, something like that, brushes, and I have 2 variations of them. One's a thicker one and one's a thinner one. And the thicker one I'll do like this contour line, the outline. And then with the thin one, that's basically, I'm good to go. So I'm in here and I'm like getting the line weights and applying really the Freddy method. The Freddy method really applies to digital work, because I feel like most people, if you ink with pens and markers, you probably work in this workflow anyway. So let's just go through here. So this is the Batman one. You can see this is actually the first test. I didn't know how much rendering I was going to do and all that stuff. And this one here is actually a Ninja Turtle one. My girlfriend recommended or thought that it would be cute if I did during the convention. And I like to draw when people come to my booth as well. It gives something else to look at. A lot of people are shy. And sometimes, and this is, if you guys haven't done conventions yourself to sell prints, you have to be a businessman, right? And I've been out of the loop. This is actually my first show to actually go and try to just sell my own stuff, just for me, not with a publisher or anything like that. And it's a different workflow. You got to be the businessman. You got to put the businessman or lady cap on, and you got to push for that buck, right? And if you're trying to sell, chances are you're not doing as much commissions. So in between the lulls, I try to find some time to draw, build my confidence up, and give those people that do walk by that don't like eye contact and stuff, maybe they could kind of get turned on by what's going on, like, like their brains going, it's kind of cool to draw. I find a lot of people there are kind of artists, or they just like art in general, maybe not comics, right? So I was finding that I was really enjoying this workflow, and I don't mind the art. It is different than what's normally on this channel with the heavy blacks and stuff. I'm not going to get away for that for comic book work, but for this sort of stuff, it's pretty fun. And you can notice down here, I might talk about this as well, is the spraying that I did with like ink and whiteout. Again, you could actually just go check out, I think it's Cartoon Block is another fantastic channel. And Freddie Williams was recorded, I think, just check out the Ant-Man one. I think he's even got Thor. And you'll see him working on all this stuff. And it's very fun to just do this. So what I'm doing, that's a really long way to get this set up. I grabbed an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Okay, and I'm just going to zoom in here, and we're going to kind of get into the technical blah, blah, blah right here. You know, we've got our art board that I've already got set up here. And this layer that I have here, I had to do it in Photoshop. For some reason, it wasn't really working in Manga Studio. I don't have an 11 by 17 scanner. I just have a traditional scanner. So if you scan it 3 times, you'll be able to get this missing part. But I just needed the ends because I'll show you what we're going to be doing with these if you guys don't already know. In this guy's face, this was just scrap paper. I don't need anything beautiful for this, not when you're making brushes. So I have it here. Everything's scaled up. I just put it to multiply so I can still see the guides to make sure everything was lined up. And what we're going to do, and I'm just going to show you how I'm setting this up. I'm going to pause the video and come back. And I don't know how long this is going to take real time, but hopefully we'll have some fun stuff. You know, that'd be pretty cool to see. And this is what I want you guys to try doing, because if you like I've already said in the beginning, if you like or want to be able to do both of these methods, like digital and analog, or have some sort of like consistency between them, I find this is a very simple way. I don't want to say people that ink with markers are like not as good as people that ink with like nibs and like fancy inking tools. It's more of the skill you have, right? And the more you do it, the more you'll get better, just like anything else you're doing in drawing. But for my level, this feels good. This feels comfortable. So what I'll do here in Manga Studio, if you guys don't know how to make brushes or anything like that, they're actually they're fun. They're fun. Like, I'd recommend taking I don't know, an hour, day or something to figure this out, or just like if you got a weekend, grab a coffee, a tea, some water, you know, maybe put a little bit of light music on and just start fiddling around with Photoshop. I find that's Photoshop, Manga Studio, that's how you learn like the little things, like things you're never going to really go in and look at the tool properties and all that stuff, okay? So right here, if this is the somewhat default-ish kind of setup, I know my windows are on the wrong side here. I'm left-handed, so it's just easier this way. But we got our pen, pencil. Some of these are mixed up. I don't know why. It doesn't matter. Let me turn that off. And then we got our brush. And I believe this brush, this is where you get your like special brushes. This is where I'm going to be making this. This is where I like to do this. So what you would do is, let's just say I've got a bunch of brushes and stuff I downloaded here from Friend, fabulous pack. If you guys got the money, I definitely recommend buying this. There's lots of goodies in here. But what I would do is you find one you like to start off with here, okay? So I'm going to be using his 2H pencil. You can see I've already got that there. And what I'm doing is I'm just using that as a base. I'm going to be changing it up quite a bit. But you just right-click here, okay? And you just duplicate the subtool. You can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to, put some numbers here so it's easy to see. You can set some of this up. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so we're going to have this. This is where our starting tool is. Now, if you just click and drag and bring it all the way up to the top here, you'll see that if you can drag it over certain ones, you'll get like a red box. What you're looking for is just get in between like that. And what that does is it makes it just a quick tab that you can have. Okay, and this is where you can build all your brushes. You can name it whatever. Like you can see I have mine labeled Jonathan Tools 2015 because I'll probably be changing it later. You never know, right? And you can always add stuff in there and all kinds of things like that. So if we go up here, this is where I've already got it started. The next thing you're going to need is your tool property window. Okay, if you look at this, lock subtool, do not save change. What this will do for you, and this might get a little complicated, that's okay. But what that does is whatever settings you end up getting, and like brush size, all that jazz, if you click that, every time you click a new brush, it'll do that new brush's settings. And then when you come back to that brush, it'll be that brush's settings. What's really good about this is if you like to, use, I don't know, like an inking tool, like, what do we got here? Like the G Pen. You can increase the size, you get a thickness in there and stuff like that. And then you go back to maybe something else and you start doing some detail work and you go back to the G Pen and it's still that big fat brush, but you always like to start at like, I don't know, 9 pixels or something. If you have that locked and that's the settings, it'll always default back to that. So it's very important, very important. I personally like that. I like to always be able to be reset back to something. Some people don't. So just, again, play around with that. Might not be too important for you. But down here in the tool properties, this is where we're going to be spending a bunch of time. If you look down here, you're going to want this wrench, show subtool detail palette. We're going to open this up. And again, I'm not going to go with this. This video isn't about necessarily how to make brushes. Well, it is, but it's not. Like, I don't want to spend all the time going in here. That's not really the point. I'm going to show you what the actual point of this is 10 minutes in. Jeez, it's taking this long. I ramble a lot, don't I? So in here, you can just see all the stuff you can fiddle with. We're going to be going into brush shape. We're going to put some textures really cool. As you can see, even over here, like on some of these brushes, there's like a little bit of like paper texture that's bleeding through that. And I'm going to definitely be putting that in there and see how it feels. Again, we want it to mimic as real as we can, you know, as best we can. So I'm just going to close this. And whenever you want to make a new brush, right, whatever, you just click this. Create copy or create new, whatever it is. And I believe, let me just see here. Yeah, okay, so up here at the subtool settings, there's like a little arrow with a menu. If you click that and go to export subtool, this is where you actually get to save all of your settings, okay? And that's a great way to back your files up, because all this work we're going to put in is going to suck if it gets lost, okay? So what I'm going to be doing, now we can finally get in the meat and potatoes, and this is what I would recommend you do if you're interested in getting your analog tools to somewhat be as digital as possible here. These are the tools that I use. This is it. This is the whole workflow. Right here you can kind of see it. It's a 2H lead holder. That's what I like to use for my pencil. And then I'll use a kneadable eraser, which digital is basically just an airbrushed eraser. We've already got that. We're set. So I'll be making a 2H lead holder. This is the Staedtler pigment liner. That's what it's called, and that's the size that I use, and that's how thin the lines are. You can see. But you can see if I were to just use like a default 3-pixel brush, there's some stuff I don't get, like some lines that I don't get, right? Like you can tell how thin and almost transparent this is to thick. That's important. That's very important because that's something unique to a real tool. The problem is trying to get that effect, and that's where we're going to be spending some time, because you can noodle and noodle with something, but as long as something roughly looks like it. We've also got like these bleed marks, and I'm not quite sure how we'll get that, but I know I have some tools already that are kind of like that. I think if you are a Patreon, I have a C-Tech pen that does this already, so you can definitely check that out. And then we're going to have, here we go, the Kuretake, the small one, the large one, and lastly, the very last thing I use from time to time is a brush pen when you want a little bit more organic kind of look. And I just left a space on the side so that as I test the pen, I can just draw in here and then save them out. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video right now, you guys, and we're going to come back and we're going to see how all this turned out. Okay, see you guys in a sec. Okay, so we're all back there. I would say it took an hour, maybe around there. The only one I'm not really jonesing on just yet is the pencil. But fortunately, Manga Studio comes with like the best pencils in the business, if you ask me. It's coming from somebody that hasn't used Sketchbook Pro that much, so there's that. Just really quickly, we'll go over it, and then what I'm going to do is just a really quick test to see how it stacks up. So here's the pigment liner. It felt a little different. I do feel like I have to be a little bit lighter. And this is one thing that I found out as well when I'm making these tools, is I have an additional option here. Lately, I would say over the last couple months, I've started to notice a very dangerous thing where if I'm drawing for a while, or if my hand's in a certain position for like maybe just like 5 minutes, I'll start to get numbness in my hand. Big red flags, big red flags. And when I draw traditionally, it can happen. I'm noticing that it is, and I'm not sure what it is about digital. It might be because I'm pressing too hard. So what I'm trying to take into account is to work lighter digitally, since no matter what I do, at least right now, most of my work is going to be digital. So I'm trying to just be much more lighter, which I notice is affecting my line quality, because usually when I render digital, right, I'll start light and go heavy for like rendering, like these kinds of effects down here, if it's light to thick. Traditional, if I go thick to thin, it feels like a flick of the wrist. It feels more natural with the tools, and it gets a nice result. At least my efforts here in digital haven't panned out that much. So I did play with that. I did want to point one other thing here. You guys might get a kick out of this, and this is one of the things that really sells this sort of like, if you want that fade in between these lines. If you go down here to brush size, there's like this little like drop down button. Set to change parameter by pen pressure, blah blah blah. This is the sweet thing. Velocity. I have the pencil turned on right now, but if I go to the pigment liner, just go down here, lock those layers, and we go here again. You'll see velocities turned on, and that gives us this really sweet. You see how it goes like thin, and like if I do like very long lines, it feels almost like doing this on real paper. The difference is on real paper, you get a texture in there. And I was playing around with texture. You'll kind of see it started to get a little, I don't know, mostly when you're doing digital work, if it's ending up going to a colorist, usually it's black and white TIFF, no gray. So you can see really quickly if I change this to monochrome, some of this stuff starts getting kind of wacky, but it's okay. It's not totally out of control. And what's awesome about Manga Studio, I know this has nothing to really do with you guys, but I just wanted to show you here. If you click right here on the monochrome layer, it has a drop down layer, you can actually change the settings for your threshold. 128 for all of them. So you can kind of like play around with this stuff. So I recommend doing that. If this is just for web and you guys are farting around, don't really worry about it. But it's really cool having that feature there. Anyway, so we had that. Then my Kuretake small, you can see it's kind of, I wanted that feather thing, but I noticed with the, it's like, they're not brush pens. These, I would say they're like mostly markers, really. But they have like a very, they can get pretty thin to thick. Not as thin, I've found, as like a brush pen, we'll say. Or just a straight, like, fine point pen. But it gives you like the contour lines and stuff that you want. And a lot of the style I'm kind of going into a little bit, it seems like there's less of those sharp, chunky corners. I'm not sure how I feel about that just yet. And then I just increased the size to the large. And you can see here, I'll show you one example of texture. And you can see that it's different. There are different tools, right? But you see like in here, it goes thin because I was letting up on the pressure, and then thick. And you can see the texture there. Of the actual brush, and then it goes heavy right into the inks. I'm not able to do that just yet, so I lowered the texture a little bit on the brushes. So you can see if you zoom in, there's a little bit of give. Like it does fade into a little bit. And I was playing around, and I was able to get something somewhat like this, but not totally to the point where I was satisfied. And because of that, I didn't want to keep it in there just in case. You know, I'd rather my lines be like this. And then the last thing here was the brush pen. And what's really cool is you can play around with some of the settings. You can see what I got here. If you zoom in, it's like there's this, it's like a spacing in there, and it gives it this cool faded texture. And it gives it bristles, right? It gives it some teeth. So it has a look to it, like as you build it up, it gets some volume on there. And this I rarely use, to be honest. I usually use this just like fill things and stuff. But I'll just pause it. I'm going to do one quick test. Oh, and the pencil, like I said, don't worry about that. I'm going to do one quick test, probably like a face like this guy, just to see how it works out, and I'll be right back, you guys. Alright, we're back in the last bit here. Thanks, guys, so much for sticking around through all this. It's taking longer on my end than it is for you guys, but hopefully you guys dig this. And so, all in all, I would say the pencils that I was worried most about, I actually enjoyed very, very much. I feel like this right here actually works really well. I'm noticing that, like, okay, so it's very dark. 2H lead is very light, usually. So I'm just lowering the opacity, and it feels a little bit more like I'm working with the gray. So we slapped them down. I got the pencils there. The pencils felt good. This is a headshot, too, of a character called Gildas from a comic that I'll be working on, a personal project. You guys heard me talk about it all the time. You've probably seen the guy from Castle Dracula. So we got that, lower the opacity down a little bit. Next stage here is just that the liner, the pigment liner, just to get the lines down. Now some people might not like this, and again, I went pretty quick with this. His right eye was messed up, and you're going to see, I just wanted to play with the tools so how I could fix it. But all in all, I'd say the workflow felt really well. It felt almost as if very damn close to working traditional, to be honest. Next stage here is I just use the Kuretake small to do the, excuse me, I got the hiccups, the outline. And here I'll just remove the pencil so we can see it. And then I went with the Kuretake, the large was for the outline, and then the small is just for, this is where like all the detail work would come in, you know, the line weights. And to be honest, you know, I would definitely want to work some more in here, but that's pretty close to being fine to send to somebody for colors. Again, I left a lot of the hair out because I wanted to use the Pentel pocket brush just for the last part here, and you're going to see I'm just going to start throwing in chunky shadows and stuff, and the brush worked actually really well. It is a little chunky in areas, but I am able to get like this really cool like effect right here that looks really organic, you know, like it has a feel of not so much digital. Everything else is, you know, could be whatever. Honestly, I think if I slapped a textured paper background behind here, turned it off-white, just a grayish, maybe a grayish cream kind of color, just very, very subtle, and put all this ink layer on multiply, it would most likely look like it was done with traditional ink. So that's it's reassuring. So what I'll be doing from here on out, or not here on out, but in the background, you guys will see it as well. I'm going to try working with this and see where we can go. The speed is actually really amazing. I find it very fast. And there is an argument, and I don't want to get it necessarily in this video, but if you've already watched this long, you're probably okay with it, that some people, they'd like to go to just pencils here, and there's definitely the argument of just going like this, you know, like going into a new layer and just grabbing like stuff that comes with Manga Studio, right? And just doing like the old school kind of inking in here, getting your line weights, and it can feel faster. It just really all how you like to work, you know. And some people prefer the lines and all that, and again, I am trying to get a little bit back into traditional, so there's some stuff I want to try, and most likely until I get the stones to try to work with real ink and like a quill, or I'll call it a Q-tip pen. It's going to take a little bit of a while to get in there. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there to you guys. You guys might enjoy it. And again, hell, you might even use traditional tools like this, and some of these brushes that you make for yourself might work out. So again, if this was if you enjoyed this at all, leave a little thumbs up, share the video. I really appreciate that. And until next time, you guys, keep reading comics, keep making comics. I'll talk to you guys very soon. Bye-bye.